chance! And Charlie Wellington scored! Goodness me! In the 5th minute of additional time and put Leyton Orient in front. And Leyton Orient have come from behind and surely have picked up 3 precious points.
Welcome to Orient Live. The O's are back in action after a postponed fixture against Stevenage last weekend, and it's the league leaders who are here in E10 today as we face Cardiff City, looking really hard to get back to winning ways. I'm Ollie Buck and I'm joined here in the studio by Joe Willison and Glenn Wilkie. And I mean, where do we start, Glenn?
Where do you want to start?
Is it a must-win?
It's not a must-win, no. You're playing against a team at the top of the league who are a very, very good side and should be automatically promoted this year. It's going to be a very tough game. I think because of the schedule over the Christmas period, yes, we had a game called off a few days ago and the players got 3 days off rest, I think. So that would help. It doesn't help them, though, with the injuries. They've got the long-term injuries in the team. And it's going to be a very difficult game today. But talking to supporters before the game, everyone thinks we're going to lose. And they're saying, no, Leyton Orient, we'll go and win. So who knows? Who knows? I think it'll be a very good game today.
Confidence, obviously, maybe not the highest after, as Glenn says, that festive period. It was a rough run. Confidence comes back with a couple of wins, though, and no better way to start with a win against the league leaders.
Yeah, you're right. I think we are short of confidence. There's no getting away from that. But like you said, it can return really quickly, and especially against the top side in the league, or the form side and the team who are sitting top of the pile. So if there is a game that you want to try and win to really lift the mood and lift the spirits and start putting a little run together, it's against Cardiff today.
I was going to say, I don't even, yes, we'd love to win, but I think a draw is a good result, and I think a 0-0 would be a cracking result, just because of the mistakes we've been having at the back and the goals we've been conceded, just to get a bit more confidence in that back line. Obviously, there's a new addition in there, and the goalkeeper. I think a 0-0 is a cracking result for us today. A win, but a 0-0, I'd be well happy with that.
Well, maximum points would, of course, be nice, and it's, of course, needed as well to get us moving up the League One table. Right then, before we take a look at the teams, let's first hear from the pre-match thoughts of Richie Wellens.
Let's talk about Cardiff City, a team that's doing very well this season. How are you feeling going into the game?
Well, I thought, and I don't know if you asked Barry or not, but I would imagine that we're probably one of the toughest games that they've had. We should have scored a lot of goals down at their place. Unfortunately, we had a wacky 5 minutes where their talent came through and they created chances and scored and took the chances at that time. But I think for this level, they're a very good squad. Real big squad, a lot of depth, numbers. But I also think that when you do get a team that is coming down from the Championship and they keep the majority of the players and then they've got a lot of young talent coming through, I think it can be beneficial, and they're quite strong. When you look at someone like Plymouth, they've had a hell of a lot of turnover in players, so they found it a lot tougher. But I think Cardiff, clear way of playing, good football, I like watching them. So yeah, it'll be a tough game because of, just look at the position that they're in the table. But then I think that we just better defensive moments will be all right.
We've actually beaten 2 of the top current 3 in the league, both in League 10. That must be a massive positive going into this game.
It just makes it more frustrating that we can perform against these teams. But we've had no consistency for a while now in terms of team selection, in terms of style of play, in terms of the system that we're picking. But hopefully we're starting to see people coming back. Azim should be back in the squad. Dan Happ not going to make it, but we'll probably make the next game. And then obviously we can start getting more consistent performances, more consistent team selection, and for me that comes hand in hand with keeping more clean sheets and picking up more points. I think we picked 17 points up from 10 games when we just had a bit of consistency in a lot of that. So yeah.
Right then, without further ado, let's take a look and see the O's lineup for this afternoon's fixture. Starting in goal, and the only goalkeeper in the squad today, it's Killian Cahill in between the sticks. New signing Will Forrester comes straight into the side, and it's Jack Simpson and Tom James who are playing in the centre-back positions alongside him. Theo Archibald is in the left wing-back position with Michael Craig on the opposite side of defence. Tyreek Bakinson and Sean Clare shore up the midfield, with Ollie O'Neill in the middle of the park in the 10 role, with Alfie Lloyd and Don Ballard both starting in a partnership up top. And on the bench is Dimitri Mitchell, Josh Koroma, Omar Beckles, Sonny Perkins, Jack Morehouse, Azim Abdullahi and Charlie Wellens. So a bit of a roll of the dice from Richie here, something new. We haven't seen. We saw it early doors in the season with the two up top, but let's see how it goes today.
Yeah, I think I was at the game in Cardiff, the away leg, where we were really unfortunate not to win the game. But we created so many chances that day. I think we scored 3 and we probably could have scored 8 or 9. We played really well and we got sort of 2 up against them and put the ball in behind them and we got the runners going and pushing them backwards because they're very good on the ball. And it was quite successful. Yes, we should have scored more goals and won the game, but we didn't. And I think that's probably in Richie's mind today as well. They play with a back 4. So you don't want one of them coming out, breaking out. So if you can occupy them defenders and play 2 up high against them, it helps us out. I think that's the thinking. Whether it pans out that way, whether we do play 3 at the back, like the graphic just shown, I'm not sure. But if it's not working, there's opportunity there to change it with the personnel we've got on the pitch. If we need to go to a back 4, there's people there.
It's the new signing, Will Forrester, of course, signing from Bolton. Richie said in his last post-match interview that he wanted new defenders. He's got one. It's a big game for Will to maybe lift the defence around him as well.
Yeah, don't know much about him, but obviously Richie said that he's been after new defenders. So he comes in. It looks like a back 3, but possibly, as Glenn said, we've got the options there to move to a back 4. So look, I think it's about trying to keep a clean sheet, isn't it? And really trying to find a formula in that defence, where we can look solid, look reliable back there, and try and keep goals out. So hopefully he comes in and does well in his debut. I
think it will be a back 3 because they play a 4-2-3-1, so they play 1 up top. So again, you've got 3 there, you've got the extra body or the extra 2 bodies against the 1, but they do like to rotate with the number 10 and have a couple of players going in there. So whether we're going to step 1 up or how we play, I think it's going to be fascinating tactically to see how we match them up, the league leaders, because they are, like I said, they're a good team, they're top for a reason. And with this, it's not a makeshift team, but it's not our ideal line-up when everyone's fit. It'd be interesting to see how we match them up and what our energy levels are like after the Christmas period.
Sure, they're a good team, but as you said, we scored goals against them. Their defence also on that day looked shaky. I know it's a weird thing to say for a team that's top of the league, but it did look like a shaky defence back then. Yeah,
I think when you're so front foot and you're so kind of they're so insistent on being a ball dominant team and committing bodies forward, like it's inevitable there's going to be certain games that you're going to leave spaces, there's going to be weaknesses to try and exploit, and I think we proved that in the away game where yes, they are a really good footballing team and they'll go forward and attack and try and create chances, but there's also opportunities to get out of and really try and hurt them. So I'm sure that'll be in the thinking in the in the lineup and the game plan today.
I think also with their back 4, their manager, I know you know him, don't you? He's come from Manchester City's academy. He wants his backline to play. He wants them to come out with the ball. If there's not a pass on, we saw it in the away game, their centre half will break into the midfield with the ball. I think the 2 up front one is to try and stop that, but also getting the high press right. We've got the bodies up there around them to try and nick the ball in them higher areas, which we did at their place.
I think, just on that point, I think the press, like you said, will be so interesting because, absolutely he wants them to be brave. He wants them to try and play, overplay at times. He's insistent on that. So, it will be interesting to see if we can kind of like set traps and, try and win the ball back in good areas to really like be direct and go and hurt them.
I mean, looking at their defence now, while we're talking about it, and we'll come on to Cardiff shortly, but they've conceded 24. That's only Bolton and Stevenage have conceded less. They've clearly sorted things out. And as you're saying, our attack, we know we can score at home. We need to go out and do that today.
No, definitely. And their defence is, I know we're talking about Cardiff a lot here, their defence haven't conceded that many goals. But the reason for that is because they keep the ball a lot of the time. I'd like to see what the possession stats are like percentage-wise over the season because they keep the ball a lot. When you got the ball a lot, you don't concede chances, do you? So it's a bit of that, but they are young. They can be got at. I think the pace we've got up front with Lloyd starting today, and we know what Ballard can do. I think the work rate from them two is going to be key and sort of start that defending from the front. And like Joey says, if we can win the ball and nick the ball in good areas, then that's a really, really good opportunity for us to go and upset them today.
Certainly is. Let's talk about the O's line-up then, and the wing-backs will be crucial, as they always are. We'll need that width, and two people who can get on the ball and try and do stuff. Theo with the armband as well. It's nice to see him with that armband on. He knows what it means.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we try as much as we can get those guys going forward. Do you know what I mean? And not be sat back in a back five. You know, Cardiff are going to have the ball at times. There'll be spells where we'll have to sit in and obviously be quite compact. But then I think it's important that when we have the opportunity to play, especially those back three, they're brave with it. Do you know what I mean? And they travel into spaces and we advance up the pitch and get our wing backs on the ball higher up. Do you know what I mean? So they can contribute in an attacking sense. And then I quite like the lineup. It looks quite fresh. I'm really interested to see Lloyd today. I think it's his first full start today. But he's shown glimpses, hasn't he? Like, he's quite game, and I think I'm sure he'll want to have a bit of a physical battle with that Cardiff backline. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
What role do you think Ollie O'Neill will be playing today?
The graphic shows him as a number 10 today. We know his ability, what he's like on the ball. He works hard. I just want to see Ollie O'Neill when he's on form and he's at his best, and he's got a bit about him, because we know he can break forward with the ball. We know he's a good dribbler. He's got a decent shot on him. Right, left foot, very good. Be interesting to see what he does. And I think because they play one or two in front of the back four, I think his role there is to be buzzing around, upsetting them when they got the ball. We're talking about winning the ball higher up the pitch. His role, and he's got the athletic ability to get between them and try and start that press, or try and put pressure on them ball players for Cardiff in a sort of deeper roles for them. And once he gets the ball, we know the quality he's got with a pass, a shot, a dribble.
Do you know what I want to see from Glenn? I really rate him, and I think, like you said, he's technically really good. He's got lots of ability. I want to see a little bit more like arrogance, and a bit more kind of like, look, like, give me the ball. Do you know what I mean? When he's on song and when he's having a good game, like, we see it with Connolly. When Connolly's out there, he takes that responsibility on. You know what I mean? Give me the
he goes searching for the ball, don't he? He drops deep and goes searching for it.
Though. Like, you can just tell with his body language. He's like, give me the ball. I'm going to make something up. I'd like to see him do that a little bit more, especially with Connolly out the side. Just kind of take on that responsibility and, like, demand the ball, especially when he's having a good game and when he's on form. Do you know what I mean? Just like to be that go-to guy that's going to make something happen, to create a chance or get a shot off, and try and hopefully score a few more goals as well. I think his numbers can be a bit better for a good player as he is.
I'm not sure we've ever really seen him, definitely not start, I don't think, centrally. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because when you think of Ollie O'Neill, he's a wide man, fantastic delivery, can cut in and shoot. It's going to be interesting.
It will be. Circumstances have chosen him. If he does start there, in it down the middle in the number 10 position, like you say, very interesting to see how he copes in that role. I think he'd be good. I don't think he's going to be asked to drop deep and defend. I think he's literally going to be in between the lines. Like, you sit there, you occupy that space in between their defence and their midfield, and try and get the ball. And if we can nick the ball and sort of counter-attack very quickly, he is intelligent enough to find pockets of space to get the ball. But then it's up to the others in the team to get him the ball as quickly as we can, so we can then go and attack.
Absolutely. And then when you've got Don Ballard, he'll be important alongside Alfie Lloyd, but he scored probably our goal of the season against these lot back in the first half of the season. He's been on fire, and he's probably, whilst the results haven't been coming, he's the one we're looking to keep up hopefully get back to positive results.
Obviously, definitely from a goal scoring point of view, we need to make sure we're feeding him. We need to make sure we're putting the ball. I think it's important as well, as much as we want to try and play, I think it's important sometimes when the ball goes wide, we put the ball in the box for him, because we know that even if it's not on the first contact, we know that he's such a predator and he's got such good goal scoring instincts that he's going to be in and around it. So if that ball drops, do you know what I mean? And if it might be the second phase where he lands on it, I think it's so important that we, as much as we want to keep the ball, when the opportunity is there to feed him, to put the ball in the box, to test their back line, we give him the chance to get those opportunities, to get his shots off, and even heading. We know he's a great header of the ball as well. So I think it's important he gets a good supply.
Absolutely. Right, don't forget a few bits of business to catch up on. Then, of course, if you're watching along live on our YouTube preview stream, then today's match is available to follow here on Orient Live. International fans, you can pick up a streaming pass to watch along with all the coverage here, and UK-based fans, if you're watching on our live YouTube stream, then you can pick up an audio pass to listen along with Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock. But now, before we go any further, let's hear from a club legend. It's Terry Howard.
Terry, we're here ahead of the Cardiff City game. What are your thoughts going into the game?
Well, difficult game lies ahead. Team that are playing top of the league. Sometimes that's what you need. You know, we've struggled a little bit lately. Sometimes when you play the best team, you up your game as well, and let's hope that's the case today.
We have beaten 2 of the top 3 in E10, so that's a massive positive for the players and the management team going into this.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, that's got to give us some sort of confidence going into today. We know we can do it. We've let ourselves down probably in games where, you know, I mean, I thought the level of performance went down significantly against Wimbledon, which is disappointing. What better to come back and have a good game against the top of the table team. And
first signing through the door in the January transfer window, Will Forrester. Good signing and strengthened defence as well.
Yeah, from what I've read, you know, and I've seen Will play here. Good player, just had, you know, injury problems. You know, if we can keep him fit, you know, it'll be a great addition to the squad.
And what can we expect from this Cardiff City team?
Well, listen, the game early in the season, you know, I saw the highlights of the game, and it really could have been about 5-6 all. You know, it'd be interesting to see how they go about today. You know, obviously they're very confident. They'll probably try and get us early and sort of play on the fact that we're not in a great run at the moment, but that's where we've got to be, you know, mentally very tough.
How would you approach this kind of game when a team's really at the top of the league and playing against a team struggling? Would you want to sit back, or is that something you want to attack after?
Listen, I think you've got to be respectful of the fact that they are where they are for a reason. But, you know, I always say the best form of defence is attack, you know, and I feel with us, we've got to start on that front foot. I always say this, you know, I think if we invite them onto us, we're asking for trouble a little bit. So, fast start, you know, try and get them on the back foot. Early goal would help, wouldn't it? But, yeah, you know, I think Richie will try and be as positive as he can be today.
And how important can receiving points today be for the team's morale going into the rest of the season?
Well, it's massive, isn't it? You know, going back to what I said, if you can get something against the team at the top of the table, that's got to, you know, restore some confidence. We look like we're lacking a little bit of confidence at the moment, which is it's understandable, you know. So we are where we are for a reason. But last season we came from this sort of position, and you know, for me today, whatever the result, it starts with performance. If we can put in a good performance today, I think that'll stand us in good stead.
Is lunch at work awesome? If so, tune out now. If not, keep listening. Picture this: chef-made meals from local restaurants brought right into your workplace. No sad sandwiches, no tired menus. By tapping into the local restaurant scene, Fuda powers workplace dining for companies across the US, giving teams flavor, convenience, and authenticity. Half of Glassdoor's best places to work have partnered with Fuda. Is your team ready to upgrade its workplace food scene? Find out how at Fuda.com. That's FOODA.com.
You have a choice. You can waste 20, maybe 30% of your media budget, spend millions reaching bots, the wrong people, or no one at all. Or just use 0 to 1. It knows who's ready to buy. It's over 85% accurate. Zero wasted spend. The future of marketing isn't guessing. It's knowing.
Before we turn our attention back to the football, another reminder for you that flexi tickets are now available for you. If you're planning on being over in the UK in the next few months, then you can pick up 3 to 5 tickets at a discounted rate. You can pick the games that you want to attend, and you can get the 3 or the 5 match bundle, and you'll save up to £35 on the cost of buying those matchday tickets. But let's turn our attention back to the game. Let's talk a bit more about Theo Archibald, and let's take a look at what he does, because he was at the side for so long, and it's probably a testament to him how incredibly he's done to get back in, and he's now a starter wearing the armband, and he's probably been one of the ones of recent games who's tried to lead from the front.
Yeah, and Richie's been very vocal about it over the years when Theo was injured, and I think a couple of weeks ago. What you get with Theo, you know what you're going to get. He's always a 7 or an 8 out of 10, you know. He's his attitude, effort. Even when he's not having the best game in the world. He's constantly running and trying to do the right thing all the time. We know how good he is on the ball. We know what his crossing's like, what his shooting's like when he's on it. Yes, he come back and delighted for him that he scored the goal against Luton Town the other week. But he's just a really good guy. And I spoke to him in an interview in the week, and I spoke to him about captaincy. And we didn't know it was going to happen today. And I asked him what kind of captain he would be, or he thinks he would be, and he said somebody who leads by example. And I think that's spot on, because other players, when it's not going, you want everyone, or it's not going well, you want everyone to put the effort and you want them to have the right attitude. And Theo, sort of, that is his game. Yeah, you know exactly what that is, and I think it's a great call today making him captain, because I think the rest of the team will look at him and sort of hopefully his enthusiasm will rub off on them.
It harks back to the days of James Brophy. Is he a winger? Is he a left back, Joe? Back in that era, but it was the same then. You know, it might be a position further back, closer to defence, but that's space to run into, and we know he's explosive when he wants to be Theo, and he can use that to his advantage.
Yeah, and he's a really good ball carrier, isn't he? You know, one of the few players in the squad who wants to pick it up really and drive and attack the space, plenty of energy. And like Glenn said, I just think his general attitude and approach to his football is infectious. I think, you know, him, you know, having the armband today, I do think other players will look at him and see the commitment, the effort, the energy levels from him, and hopefully it rubs off on everyone else, because I think he's a really good character and a really good player to have around.
He is. Right, let's turn our attention to the Cardiff City lineup then, and let's see how they shape up for this afternoon's fixture. Starting in goal is Nathan Trott. We have Joel Bagan and Perry Ng in the fullback positions, with Gabriel Osho and William Fish at centre-back. Alex Robertson partners the captain, Ryan Wintle, in midfield, with Chris Willock and Amari Kellyman in the wide positions. Ollie Tanner plays just behind Yusuf Selek, who leads the line. And on the bench is Matthew Turner, Dylan Lawler, Ronan Capio, David Turnbull, Joel Colwill, Isaac Davies and Callum Robinson. We've touched on them already, but you know, they're top of the table, and as I think as Terry said, they're top of the table for a reason.
Yeah, very good side. Young side as well. Good young side and want to play good football. Number 8, Kellyman for them, is a key player. He's going to be playing in that number 10 position today behind Salek up front. He likes to get on the ball, and he makes good little darting runs in between defenders, and he's good with the ball, good shot on him. Selek up front, or Salek, the Danish guy, 6'4", 6'5", he's a beast. He's a big guy and he knows where the net is, and he's only young, he's only 23. He's proved already this season. I think he's up there in amongst the top goal scorers in the league. So they like getting the ball to him, whether it's crosses, corners, but equally on the floor, he's very dangerous. So we've just got to really watch those two, but got to watch the rest of the team. But those two, for me, are their key players today.
I mean, they've got a player on the bench in Lawler, I believe it is. He's linked with Bayern Munich. I mean, that kind of probably screams the talent they've got that have come through their youth academy.
Who was that, sorry?
Lawler.
Yeah, centre half.
Yeah, linked with Bayern Munich. Tells you the quality they've got coming through their academy, and they've come down obviously and had a half season in League One now. But that tells you what kind of players they've got in that squad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think obviously you look at Brian's coaching history. He worked with young players a lot at City and the like, and I think he's really keen to give young players an opportunity. You know, you've seen a couple of them get called up to the full Wales squad, haven't they? So they're a real young team. You know, fearless. Well coached, and at the moment obviously they're super confident. You know, they want to try and play, they want to be expressive, and I know that's something that you know, obviously Brian really encourages. So good team, good young side, plenty of energy, plenty of enthusiasm, and they're in real good shape at the minute.
I'm pleased Lawler's on the bench actually, because against us when we played him away, he was the guy who got the ball in the halfway line, drove forward and shot and scored from outside the box. So he must either have a niggle, must be tired, or play a load of minutes, because he's a very, very good player for them. Only young, but like you say, there's a lot of vultures from big clubs sort of hovering around at the moment for him.
They're the second top scorers in the league as well. Let's take a look at some of the goals they've scored. We've spoken a lot about our defence. As we see here, what do they need to do today, Joe?
I think they'll need to be really alive to runners. Cardiff love to commit a lot of bodies forward. They're really attacking numbers. I think obviously Salek is the main danger man. You know, he seems to be a forward with a bit of everything. You know, he's real imposing, good size, good finisher. But they like to play a lot of little combinations around the box. You know, they're just really bright. So yeah, I think, you know, we'll just have to be really switched on. You know, concentrating, good, like communicate well. When we get the chance to squeeze up the pitch, I think it's important. You know that backline really drag themselves up and try and like condense the space. You know, we don't want to be sat in deep, and wow, yeah, real variety of goals there. To be fair, they've got a lot of weapons in there. You know, do you know what I mean? In there.
But what they also do, they don't just have one set way of playing. Yeah. Sort of like you're saying, the combinations in and around the box where they're doing short passes. They don't mind getting the ball wide and whipping it into the box as well. So you've got to be on your toes all the time. And
I mean, we haven't kept a clean sheet since late November. Clean sheets, no defeats. You'd like to see one today, wouldn't you? Even if it means just the draw.
0-0, take it. I'll take it now. I've said it already. I'd love a 0-0 today. I'd love a 1-0 to us, but I'd love a 0-0 as well if we can't win. I think it just does the world of confidence for the goalkeeper. He's a young keeper, and the back line as well. After what we've been going through of late.
With two up top, Joe, would you like to maybe see the O's switch things up a bit, go a bit more direct?
I think it'd certainly be an option, yeah, and one that, you know, at times it would be good to use. I feel like, you know, we were saying before, I think they're a team that like to play. Their defenders want to, you know, they're footballers. They want to get on the ball and you know, distribute the ball and pass the ball. But let's make them defend. Let's make it uncomfortable for them. You know, let's make them run towards their own goal, have to head balls, have to compete. I think, you know, obviously in Lloyd we've got a really, you know, good option there to use in terms of hitting him as like a target man. With Ballard and O'Neill in and around him. So it's certainly an option I think we consider, yeah.
I think today we show them no respect at all. Start the game, show them no respect and try and bully them. Be nasty in the tackle, aggressive in the tackle. Let them know today's not going to be a walkover for them, even though they're top of the league and we're going through a bad run. We need to be really, really up for it today and just, like I say, show them no respect at all.
We need to be up for it. It's a sold-out away end. They'll be up for it. They've obviously got a goal. It's just going to be a tough game, isn't it? Yeah, tough, but a good game. Like Glenn said, I think we really need to get amongst them. You know, like absolutely no respect. You know, they're a good team, but they're young and they're inexperienced. Do you know what I mean? And they don't want to have to fight. They don't want to have to compete. They don't want to, you know, they don't want to do that side of the game. So if we can kind of really get stuck into them, start sharp, get after them. Hopefully we can make it a good contest. You look back to the Bradford game and a few other games this season where we've played big teams here that have been near the top. We always seem to thrive on it.
Yeah, and part of that is because these teams are up near the top. They play open football. They want to come and attack because they see an opportunity to come and win the game. Where we struggle is teams who are happy to get a point and shut up shop, and then we've got to try and break them down. I think the better the team, the further up the pitch, they come with an open game plan of trying to win the game. It falls into our hands. Well, hopefully the O's can play this one to their advantage then, and 3 points would be lovely. Well, we'll let Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock tell you about this one. Over to you.
To go and line up as well, and as you say, we welcome Will Forster, an experienced player at this level.
Yeah, he's obviously had his injury problems, hasn't he? But I say an addition to the squad. Clearly, defensively, there's been a lot of problems this campaign for the O's. No team have conceded more, so unsurprisingly, it's a defender, the first signing in the January window. Let's hope he can bring a little bit more defensive sound quality in that back line. And you mentioned the O's this afternoon, probably the first time this season, Dave, I haven't actually penciled in the formation because I'm not quite sure how the O's are going to line up. Were they going to go with a 5 at the back? Will they go with a 4? We'll find out shortly.
Well, I think it's going to be 3 at the back with 2 wing backs, and I think one of those might be the captain, Theo Archibald. But we were talking about the 3 changes for Cardiff City, and that includes Ollie Tanner. It's the first time that he's played since August. He suffered a really nasty ankle injury as well as a broken fibula against AFC Wimbledon. Yeah, and again, I'll be delighted to get him back in the Bluebirds, and even more so to see Nathan Trott back between the sticks as well. It was a goal fest, wasn't it? The game that we witnessed at the Cardiff City Stadium, a game which we really should have won, but somehow came away with nothing. Only Leyton Orient and Chelsea have scored 3 goals at the Cardiff City Stadium so far this season. the Blues going on to the semi-finals of the League Cup, and as you say, Leyton Orient suffering defeat in that 7-goal threat.
Yeah, and interesting as well that the teams are switching ends. I can only imagine Cardiff City won the toss of the coin and decided that they'd rather Orient attack the north stand in the second half. And what that means is they will also, the visitors, be attacking the end where their supporters are in good voice, in good numbers, around 1,200 I understand in that east stand.
Leyton Orient then to get this game off and underway. We remember Lottie, a fantastic Leyton Orient supporter over the years, and there's a bouquet of flowers that the club have laid outside the Justin Edinburgh stand. And Lottie and Justin, of course, had a very special relationship. It's Leyton Orient in the all-red kit to get this game off and underway. And in the first half, they're attacking the Tommy Johnson stand, and the former Cardiff City player, Jack Simpson, puts the ball into touch. So do we know how Leyton Orient are lining up, Matt?
Yeah, I think it looks like the O's are going to play with the wing-backs, with Craig on the right, Archibald, the skipper, on the left, with the 3 centre-halves, Tom James, Will Forrester and Jack Simpson. There's 3 in the middle. Ahead of them, Backinson and Clare, the 2 holding players, with Ollie O'Neill playing in a 10 role behind a front 2 for the O's this afternoon of Don Ballard and Alfie Lloyd.
Cardiff City failed to keep the ball in play. There were 3 changes for them as well. I don't think there's too many surprises in the line.
No, not at all. Trotting goal, back 4 from right to left, and G, Fish, Osho and Bajan. Ahead of them, Whitlow and Robertson, the holding midfielders, with Willock on the left, Tanner on the right, Kellyman in the 10, behind the leading marksman in the division, which of course is Yusuf Salek.
The ball has gone away for another throw, this one for